Welcome to the Papa Podcast. I'm Papa Head. Today I have Marshall Littlefield joining me, and I'm going to be interviewing about the Cornetto Trilogy, a series of movies that he and I both enjoy. So, Marshall, hello there.
Hi, Papa. I'm
Hi.
happy to be here.
Welcome. Let's dive right into it. How did you first get into the Cornetto Trilogy?
Well, it was actually fairly recently in the span of my life. It was in my grade 12 year. I went home for lunch one day, and I had a double lunch at the time, which is a simple way of saying that I had 2 hours to have lunch because I had a spare class. So I went home and I flipped on good old Netflix, and it was then that I saw Scott Pilgrim listed on there, and I had always heard about that movie, and I liked Michael Cera, and so I gave it a watch, and I enjoyed the movie, and I told a couple of my friends about it, and they were like, what do you mean you haven't seen Scott Pilgrim until now? And I was shunned for a very long time, but that's neither here nor there. In the following few months, Baby Driver was announced, which is a film also directed by Edgar Wright, who directed Scott Pilgrim and the Cornetto Trilogy.
Yes.
And so I went and I saw that the trailer really caught my eye, as it just seemed like a really good original idea for a movie. Like everything's a sequel or a remake or a prequel nowadays, so it was nice to see something that wasn't like a dystopian future or like just something of the same old. So
There's a break from the norm with the unique parodies to different film franchises or
absolutely
different film styles. Like Shaun of the Dead is like a spoof of the zombies. Hot Fuzz is poking fun at the action buddy cop, like the buddy cop cliches. World's End is more poking fun at the Martian invader kind of movies. So yeah,
100%. Yeah, and so after it was after having seen Baby Driver that I listened to a podcast from one that I usually listen to that discussed movies, and they were discussing Edgar Wright as a director, and so from them I heard that the Cornetto Trilogy was one that I should really check out, and so I went and I watched in the order of I saw The World's End first, and then I saw saw Shaun of the Dead, and then I saw Hot Fuzz, and so that, and it opened up my eyes.
Is this trilogy in any way definitively different from others? I think we just touched on it, but let's hear it again.
Yeah, I'd certainly say so. There's something about so many there's so many comedies out there. There's like every other movie is just some dumb comedy, but you don't always find a lot of them that have good jokes and a good story at the same time. They often, or as well as like good acting and good directing, you usually have to sacrifice like one or two of those things when you're going into a movie that you want to make a comedy. You'll just have a bunch of jokes, where the plot is just something just really mundane and stupid, or like you won't have just gorgeous cinematography like the Cornetto Trilogy has. And something a lot of people touch on when it's almost impossible not to mention when you're talking about Edgar Wright, visual comedy is something that is aside from in like animation and commercials, is something that's really downplayed in our current society. Like it's not used near as much as it could be.
Like slapstick kind of humor. You see a lot of visual gags in the trilogy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just being able to make a joke simply from what you're seeing and not from what somebody's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is your favorite film from all three movies, and why?
This is one question that I've pondered for a long time, and I definitely think I have to go with Hot Fuzz is my favorite. They're all fantastic movies, but something about Hot Fuzz, it's just, the movie is paced so well. Like every time I rewatch it, it eases you right into, okay, this is the town that he's in. This is, and like without spoiling anything, of course, it just so perfectly leads up to everything, and you're never sitting there thinking, oh, this is going too fast, I'm having trouble following this, but you're also never thinking, oh, this is dragging. It's just so well done, and will defend to my grave that movie has the best definition of a climax of any movie ever. The last 20 minutes to half an hour of that movie is just an absolute gem, and so I love everything about it.
Is that going to be on your epitaph?
Oh,
Hot
yeah.
Fuzz is the
100%.
best.
I'm going to say Hot Fuzz has the best climax of any movie ever, and I died saying that. Those will be my last words as well.
Marshall died February 19th, 2020.
Oh no, don't call that now. That's too close.
Have you noticed any recurring theme or themes in the films?
Certainly. Like one example being Cornetto, which the ice cream that the
it's only
that the films
available
are
in the
named
UK, yeah.
Yeah, and
so that's sorry to interrupt. That's a little bit interesting because over here when they try to get the Cornetto Trilogy, I typed it up and it just says the Blood and Ice Cream Trilogy or whatever.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's you'll sometimes over here in the West, as some would say, you'll hear a different name for it. Yeah, it's something like Blood and Ice Trilogy or something like that. But
but get back to recurring themes. Sorry.
Yeah, no, all good. I find a lot of them, well, pretty much all of them involve Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
I always think Shaun of the Dead for some reason when I think of him, and they're always Simon Pegg and Nick Frost being two buddies, and then whatever number of other friends around them, and so it's almost funny to view them as a whole series, because while these two are side by side, and it's always them as the main characters, they're playing very different characters, somewhat at least. Hot Fuzz, for Simon Pegg at least, being the one that stands out the most, as he's the one that sticks by the rules, and he does not deviate from them in the slightest. And then you look at Simon Pegg's character in Shaun of the Dead, or even especially in The World's End, where he's just a drunk that has been unemployed for years,
probably forever. I noticed that. Yeah, it's kind of strange seeing from watching Shaun of the Dead, from watching Hot Fuzz, and watching The World's End, to see the roles kind of reverse. Like Nick Frost was usually the bumbling sidekick.
Yeah,
but he's kind of like the upstanding voice of reason type of character.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Simon Pegg is the bumbling idiot in this one.
Yeah, in the first, I think in Shaun of the Dead, they're both kind of just absolute morons through pretty much the whole thing. But at the same time, they bring so much emotion out of you. And then in the second one, in Hot Fuzz, especially, you see Simon Pegg as the voice of reason, and Nick Frost is once again the bumbling idiot. But yeah, as you were saying, in The World's End, they definitely swapped that for sure.
Which is very interesting to see Nick Frost do a more serious role, even though it's still a comedy.
Yeah, he certainly does a good job of it, though.
Yeah. What are some things that you dislike about the Cornettos?
That's a tough question.
Anything at all?
I think sometimes, and this isn't even like something that bothers me a whole lot. I think sometimes some of the British isms, for lack of a better term.
Oh yeah.
Those sometimes get lost on me as a Canadian.
Have you got a quid on you?
Yeah, but even stuff like that is fairly simple. Like I'm struggling to think of examples, but you know what I mean. Like
like teetotal.
Yeah, like
teetotes, like in
precisely.
It's a UK slang for sobriety. by the
Yeah,
way.
exactly. I think other than that, yeah, I really can't think of anything that I don't enjoy about those movies.
Okay. Has the trilogy ever inspired the work that you do? I know you're known as the procrastinating prodigy. Has any of the Cornetto's work ever like influenced your channel or anything like that?
I think certainly not, maybe perhaps not on my channel itself, but in ideas that I've had that have never really come to fruition. I've tried to. I've always wanted to make a better use of cinematography and like scenery, and making the camera an entity in itself, like making it a part of the overall experience rather than just propping it down somewhere and getting a shot of something. Like having more longer shots and more I think another thing that it really has influenced me is writing a script for myself for projects that I do, because I've always been very off the cuff and improvisational. That's a word.
Yeah.
Because I've always worked better that way, but at the same time, there's a certain number of preparation that you definitely need to put in there. And what really, where that really rubbed off on me was seeing, there's a video, I think it's on like the behind the scenes of Hot Fuzz, or maybe it's behind the scenes of World's End, but it's a video of Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, and they show the hotel that they were, or apartment that they were staying in when they worked on Hot Fuzz, and they found the huge notepad that they had set up that where they planned out everything, and like they had the whole layout of the city drawn out, and they had like the exact order that everything happens in, and like just really just they I think they took like a whole week and just stayed in this room and like just worked all this stuff out and just got down to brass tacks and planned everything out. And I think that's certainly because seeing how well that all came together.
Yeah.
That I think that really
showed me. The payoff was really great in those movies. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that really showed me what good planning, what good results that can have.
Excellent. Yeah. Would you recommend the movies to a friend, like say someone who doesn't know the Cornettos very often, or hasn't heard of them, or sort of heard of him but didn't really get into him? Like, hands
down, I absolutely would, and I have. Anytime somebody's asking for a movie recommendation, I ask them if they've seen the Cornetto Trilogy.
Like smashing the nut button. What movie should I watch? And there's you smashing the Cornetto button.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I think because, like we said, the three of them, the three movies all sort of span over different genres.
Yeah, and you can watch them out of order too, which is pretty nice.
So because of that, I think that there's something for everybody in there. Like, there's, like you said, there's the buddy cop, there's the zombie movie, and there's the space invaders, Martian attack on Earth sort of movie. Like, yeah, I'd definitely recommend it.
All right, excellent. And with that note, I'd like to conclude the show. Thank you for visiting me here at the Papa Podcast.
Happy to do it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Marshall Littlefield, everybody, and I am out. See ya.